Unlike with money, we are all given the same amount of time since the day we were born, right? And so we have a fair game when it comes to time. And so, just like with money, that we should be a good steward with time is a very important resource that we are given. Time is a gift, it's a precious gift. We don't know when our time is over, but as much as we still have it, I believe that we should treasure every second of the day and make sure that we are doing the best out of it. So, in today's episode, we will be talking about this very important and very interesting topic called time management. How can we be a good steward of time? Before we dive in, let us first check what the Bible has to say about this concept of stewardship. In Ephesians 5:15 to 16, it says, "Look carefully when you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." I believe that this verse encourages us to be wise in how we use our time, just making the most out of it for productive and beneficial purposes. Psalms 90, verse 12, also says, "So teach us to number our days, that we may get a heart of wisdom." Every time I feel like I'm wasting my time and I'm guilty of binging into Netflix or looking busy doing nothing, this thought from this verse would always remind me that my days are numbered, and so I don't have forever to spend in this world. Colossians 4:5 says, "Walk in wisdom toward outsiders, making the best use of time." And I think this verse is emphasizing on using our time wisely in our interactions with others. It encourages us to be intentional and purposeful in our relationships, using our time to share the love of Christ. Every time I get an invite, I have to weigh it like, will this be helpful in building my relationship with other people? Will this be will this moment be meaningful so I can express or share the love to others that God has for me? And so if it qualifies those questions, if the answer would always be yes, then I can certainly say yes to an invitation or to an opportunity. Proverbs 16:9 says, "The heart of man plans his way, but the Lord establishes his steps." And so this verse reminds us to seek God's guidance in our plans and recognize his sovereignty over our time. Because time is a gift from God, it is freely given to us. We don't own it, God owns it because As I've said again and again, time is a gift from God. And so we always have to acknowledge that every time we spend that time given to us, will that be according to the will of God in our lives? Because we can only plan, but the question is it gonna contribute to the cause that God is wanting us to pursue, or is it not? And yeah, it encourages us to align our or our priorities and actions according to God's will. Matthew 6:33. I'm always mentioning this verse. I think for many times um, on these podcasts says, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you." Of course, this verse reminds us to prioritize our relationship with God and seek His kingdom above all else. Because when we align our time and activities with God's purpose, we can then trust Him to provide for all our needs. This is what I'm saying. And when, sometimes when I have conversation with myself, I want to pursue a lot of things. I mean, achieve a lot of things. Um, and or I set goals just like you, but I always want to go back to prioritizing God's kingdom. I wanna achieve those things that my heart desires, God is saying that I have to seek or do His will first, and have to seek His righteousness, do the right thing for Him and through Him, in order for us or for me to achieve the things that I want to achieve. Same thing with delight yourself in the Lord, and He shall give you the desires of your heart. So I think it's just the same. God is saying or talking to us about these things over and over again in the Bible, and yet we still want to do the other way around. So, yep, being a good steward of our time involves, of course, managing our time effectively and making the most of the hours available to us, because we are, as I've said, given the same number of hours in a day. Nobody has 25 hours. We all have 24 hours, and how we're going to consume it will always depend on us. And so I think time management is a skill that we want to develop so we can be a good steward of our time. And so here are some tips that I want to share to you in order for us to become a better steward of our time. So let's start with number one. Number one is set clear goals. What do you want to achieve in a day? Like, say, example, today. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve in 10 days, in 30 days, in 1 year, or 5 years? By defining our priorities and setting specific achievable goals, having clear objectives will help us allocate our time more efficiently. So let us always be clear with what we want, and then we can be able to do what we must do. Number two is prioritize tasks. We have to determine which tasks are most important and need to be done or completed first and then do it. We can use techniques like, if you're familiar with Eisenhower or priority matrix, it categorizes tasks in four quadrants based on their urgency and importance to prioritize tasks effectively. Or you may want to set negotiable and non-negotiable tasks for the day, and of course prioritize the non-negotiables first, or do it first. I have this resource that you can download on my show notes, and so if you can go there and check, um, you can, yeah, download that resource in order for um, you to be able to prioritize task effectively. And then number three is to plan and schedule. um, in order for you to do this, you can create a daily or weekly schedule to allocate time for different activities. You can break down your goals into smaller or manageable tasks and assign specific time slots for them. So, just like me, I work 3 days in my full time job, and the 3 days that I'm free, we all have 7 days a week. I make sure that I have one day off that I just don't do anything, but all fun and bliss. That would be my Sabbath day. But yeah, for 3 days that I'm free, I can allocate it to, spending quality time with my family. And then I do make a checklist on that. So what is not scheduled is not done. And so, um, example for day one that I'm not working, I just work on my business. I would say, I could make a content for 1 hour, record a podcast for 1 hour, and then I take a break, and then I reach out on people as I build my online business, and then after that I can take another break. I can read a book, or get some coffee, grab some coffee, or take a nap. And then the next task would be to check on my website, edit something, improve something, and then another break to nap, and then listen to podcasts or to my Audible. So stuff like that that you can also do on your um, yeah, I mean, when you build your business. So people say, how can you do that, all these stuff? It's just that I prioritize tasks. I don't do it really. I mean, I don't do burnout, I don't do overwhelm. I just target or focus the task that needs to be done, and so do it, and after that I feel good, and then I am free to do anything I want. And then number four, every one of us, I think, is struggling with this, is to avoid procrastination, because it can be a major time waster. Yeah. So, what we're going to do instead is to practice self discipline, of course, and avoid delaying tasks. What needs to be done today or right now. And then, we can start doing the most challenging or difficult tasks, and then, or the important tasks, and then, the next one. And so we can maintain productivity. And next is to number five is to maximize distractions. Um, there would be a lot of distractions. So we may want to turn off notifications on our phone. We may want to silent our phone or computer and find a quiet workspace, and, to communicate. and communicate our need for uninterrupted time with our families, colleagues, I mean, especially kids, because kids would just my kids will just get inside this room, and this is my office where I'm recording and do my business, and this is also my gym. So this is a very productive room for me, and if I don't tell them that I'm doing something, or my husband, they will just get in and distract me. And so that is a no no. We always have to identify and maximize distractions that can consume our time. And then number six is to delegate and outsource. So if you already have a budget and if you're building a business, you may want to learn to delegate tasks that can be handled by others, whether it's a work or your personal life. So, like, washing the dishes, my daughter can do that. Washing my car, or putting gasoline in my car, I can let my husband do that. I can also delegate cooking to my husband. Stuff like, household chores that I can delegate to my family members so I can build my business, even if I'm at home, and yeah, stuff like that. And also like designing, I also delegate that. In fact, my Etsy shop, I let my sister do or create the content there. And so, like, other staff that I want to delegate, I'm still just finding budget for that. But yeah, we can be more productive if we can delegate and outsource the tasks that we can to other people. So, outsource those non-essential tasks to free up more time for high value activities. So podcasting, this one I cannot outsource this. It should be me to do this, create a content and do recording. And then also you can practice time blocking. Time blocking involves dedicating specific time blocks. This is also very important. I mean, very effective for me. I do time blocking for sure for different activities or types of tasks. Example, I allocate a specific time each day for emails, meetings, focused works, and personal activities. Like, of course, you know that I go to the gym, I do yoga, I set a schedule for that, I do walk my dog in the park. That's part of my time blocking. And of course, not to mention the devotional I do day and night with myself and with my kids. And I also, when I get a chance, do DoorDash. So like, if you take a look at it, it's a lot, but effectively doing the time blocking helps me a lot tremendously, so I can be productive for the day. And then number 8 is very important as well, is to learn to say no. Maybe I've mentioned this couple of times in my previous episode, when in fact, during the last episode, the topic was about how to say no, because it's also a very important skill to develop. It's so easy to say yes, especially we don't want to disappoint our families and friends. But learning to say no helps us to be a good steward of our time as well. So we have to recognize our limitations and learn to say no on the tasks or commitments that don't align with our goals and priorities. Prioritizing our own time and avoid overloading ourselves with unnecessary obligations. So, then, if you want to learn how to say no, please go back to the previous episode, because yeah, I think it's a sexy. I mean, learning how to say no in a sexy way is very essential, especially if you are um, goal oriented, or if you want to be great in time management so you can be productive. And then number 9 is to take regular breaks. While it may seem, counterintuitive, I've mentioned this earlier that I always do breaks. I short breaks. So, like in between tasks, in between, I put it in my time blocks too. Taking regular breaks can actually improve our productivity. So you can just schedule like 15-minute break during your focused work session to recharge your mind and to prevent burnout. So say after this podcast recording, I will have a break, like, just 15-minute break, and then I proceed to the next task that I will do. And so that helps a lot already. And then is the last one is to reflect and adjust. We also have to evaluate how effective we are functioning or doing with our time management. We have to review our time management practices and evaluate the effectiveness, because um, in order for us to do great at this, we have to continually check if it works, if it gives results, if it doesn't make us stress out or burn out. And so we have to identify areas where we can improve, because there's a lot of room for improvement, and make adjustments to our approach or our process as needed. And yeah, there we go. Remember that being a good steward of time is an ongoing process that requires self awareness, discipline, and adaptability. And by implementing these strategies, those tips that I've given you consistently, you can prioritize your time usage and accomplish more in your personal and professional life. How great it is. And in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, it is important to use our time wisely and to seek wisdom in our decisions, and to always prioritize in building a relationship with our Maker, with God, whoever or whatever you call Him. By aligning our time and priorities with God's will and purpose for our life, we can strive to be good stewards of the time we have been given. And there you go. If you think this is helpful, please feel free to share this with your families and friends. And congratulations on finishing another episode of these podcasts. And I hope it brings so much value in order for you to become a better steward of your time. Thank you so much, and may you have a good rest of your day. I love you, and God bless.